Good morning, Greta. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Well done. I'm Beverly Johnson. I've known Greta since she was in kindergarten, actually before you were in kindergarten.
Mm.
And so I've had the joy of watching you grow up. So,
My name is Dana Thompson, and I've known Greta since before she was born, when she was in the womb. Precious girl, beautiful inside and out. Amazing job, Greta.
Thank you.
Proud of how well you articulated that. I started my educational experience teaching in a classical Christian school in Colleyville, Texas, Covenant Christian Academy, and then spent the last 11 years at Southwest Christian School, a college preparatory school in Fort Worth, Texas.
My name is Melissa Siller, and I'm just now getting the privilege of meeting Greta. Did not get to know her since birth.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm the reading specialist here at the Grammar School, Geneva. Should I start? Okay, I'll go ahead and start then. So I was thinking, excellent job on this topic, and I know you've got lots of advocates for your topic here. I was thinking about brain muscle memory and how we need to practice things to learn them. What would you say to the argument of, just as we practice sports, we need to practice a little bit at home as well to kind of reinforce those topics and those concepts for ourselves?
Right. I definitely agree that practice makes perfect, but I do think that practice can be done within the class period and not taken home.
Greta, I'd love to know why you chose this subject. Why is it so personal to you?
Well, I've always been told that senior thesis is something I should be both interested and very passionate about. And I just so happen to be interested and passionate about the abolishment of homework. From personal experience, I've seen too much homework take its toll on me and many of my peers. And it's ultimately stole the joy of learning, which I was taught to value at a young age. When my thesis speaks of stress and anxiety and depression and missed family time and an academic homework structure that has no real proven record of effectiveness, I personally resonate with those outcomes. Now, I fully believe that schoolwork is hard work, but I think when that work is representative of hours of excessive homework, makes the learning process a deterrent. And so that's why I chose up to speak about this topic, and I think it matters, so that's why I chose it.
good answer. As someone who has had a lot of homework in my life, and I think all of us could say the same, how much homework would you consider that you had to pour into senior thesis in order to accomplish it well?
Quite a bit. I spent a lot of time researching late into the wee hours on this topic and reanalyzing arguments and points in my argument, but I'm grateful for this opportunity, even though it's very difficult, especially for people like me. But yes.
One other question, and then I'll pass this along. So in your research, were you researching what grade level? Was it grammar school, high school?
Right. I was primarily focusing on K through 12.
So was it more like the high school level of homework or grammar school?
Both.
Both, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Greta, can you speak to the accreditation and quality of teachers and what this has to do with your argument?
I think that homework can be diminished if quality teachers can impart content well on a daily basis. A quality teacher should be able to, within a 50-minute class period, give 10 minutes to 15 minutes of an intro, 30 minutes of content, and 10 to 15 minutes of a daily evaluation.
So along those lines, I'm thinking about the children that are slower to process information and that might have work kind of built up for them. Would you consider them taking that work to complete home as valuable homework, or within that 10-minute period if they're not able to finish that work?
Could you maybe rephrase the question?
Sure. So would that type of homework be okay? So if during the school day, if a well-structured lesson looked like 10 minutes intro, guided practice and then 10 minutes of working on homework or working on an independent practice for assessment if they weren't able to finish that. So I'm thinking about children that need more time to finish that in
right.
class assignment. Would that be considered to you beneficial homework if they were to take that work home? What does that look like, I guess?
I don't think so. If the child's struggling and is behind, like you were just saying, sending homework home is not going to help the child learn what they just was taught in class. The child needs to go speak with the teacher on a more personal level about what they missed in the lesson rather than the content not getting covered in class and the child having to learn it by themselves at home.
I did have one other question. Within your research, did you come across any differences between public and private schools? I know you referenced one study in California, and I believe that was a private school. Did you find any differences in homework load between those two settings?
Not very much. My thesis is primarily advocated towards public schools, but I do think private schools should take this argument into consideration as well. But I found research on both public and private.
How do you think the schools can make the transition from assigning homework to eliminating it? Like how do we work our way out of this model?
Right, so it'd definitely be a really big transition from going to having homework all the time to no homework at all. But I do think it would be shorter than what we would think. Within the first 4 years, we would have the first generation of teachers who would not have the need to administer homework to students.
So in the perfect world, if we were to pattern America after Finland, 5 hours of school a day is a pretty sweet deal for students.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And teachers, yes.
Yeah, it's a good thing for everyone.
So what do you think students would do with the rest of the day?
I think they would participate in extracurriculars, whether that's with sports or church events or deciding to travel. It could be lots of different things.
For instance, I know that language class would be, how would you be able to learn the subject matter of language without outside homework?
Right. I think that language is really important, that you practice it a lot, but I do think that can be done within the classroom. And I think if you really want to learn a language, it would be more effective if you immerse yourself within the language, whether that's with a job or you living in another country. That would be more beneficial for the student rather than sending vocabulary words home for a student.
I just have one last question. Would you find any distinction between if there was meaningful homework versus excessive amounts of homework? Like just work on this one problem and not 15 of those same types. Would you consider that as a valuable practice?
You're asking...
So is the real issue, do you believe, the excessive amount of homework?
Okay, or homework in general.
Right, exactly.
Right. I think the excessive amount is definitely a huge factor in it, but I think homework as a whole is ineffective for a student, and I think that it can be done within the class period and not taken home.
Okay, so I'm going to differentiate between grammar school and middle school and high school again.
Okay.
Do you feel that in grammar school the repetition is helpful? And do you feel like that as you progress in grade, the teachers have a tendency to feel like theirs is the only class in the world, and they're going to dump a lot of homework on you, and so you have that times 7 in high school? Whereas in a grammar school contained classroom, a teacher can say, I want you to do that, and it's going to take probably about 20 minutes tonight. Do you see a difference there?
Not really. I mean, I think that the same concept is being applied in both the grammar school classroom and the rhetoric or logic or rhetoric school classroom, whether it's doing 50 problems of math in grammar school or 50 problems of math in high school.
So do you think this problem is in the implementation of homework, or do you think the lack of quality of teachers?
I think both play a role in what I'm arguing in my thesis. I think, as I stated in my thesis, teachers are at liberty to assign various amounts of homework based on what they deem as appropriate. So implementation is a problem. And I also think you said lack of awareness, right? I think lack of awareness is also an issue because teachers are sending homework home and not aware of the adverse effects it's having on a child after they get home from school.
I just wanted to follow up with, so with that in mind, as you culminated your research, what point in your argument was the most passionate to your heart personally?
Passionate to my heart. I think two things. I think the argument talking about losing sleep and family time. I personally have lost so much sleep in high school, it's not even funny. So finding research on that was really personal to me, and missed family time is also a huge thing for me as well. There's been many nights where I go home from school, go straight to my room, lock myself in there until 1, working on homework, turn off the lights, set my alarm early to finish homework, and never see my parents. So I think that was also a huge thing for me, and things like taking your backpack on a family vacation and things like that, it personally affected me a lot.
Well, congratulations, you get a break from homework for a while.